Hey millionaire, we all know that the poorest countries in the world often have the biggest wealth gap. While most of the population has almost no money, a handful of lucky people are super rich. India is definitely one of those countries. Some people in India can't buy food, while others have billions of dollars in huge mansions. But it doesn't always last. Many of these Indian millionaires have lost their fortunes, sometimes in pretty spectacular ways. For this video, we gather the stories of how 7 of the richest Indian men went from riches to rags. Let's get to it. Number 7. Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya was once known as the king of good times, but it looks like those good times are over. He made his fortune while he inherited his father's company, United Spirits, best known for Kingfisher beer. Mallya turned his father's business into something much bigger than it used to be, which allowed him to invest in other areas and grow his wealth. Not only did he invest in a cricket team, he also served as an MP. But there was one big business decision he made that turned out to be a huge mistake. He started Kingfisher Airlines, hoping it would earn him even more cash, but it definitely didn't. It went bankrupt before the world realized it even existed, and it went down in a blaze of glory. Even though it shut down, it still owed an incredible amount of money to 17 different banks. About $1.3 billion to be exact. On top of that, Mallya has been investigated for allegedly rerouting the $1.3 billion in loans to purchase stakes in 40 other businesses across the world. In case you didn't know, that's seriously illegal. He's hiding from Indian authorities in his London home and has been declared a fugitive economic offender. He should have stuck to making beer. Number 6. Vijay Siddhartha. Vijay Siddhartha made his billion when he inherited his father's coffee plantation and turned it into a coffee empire. In 1996, he opened the first branch of Cafe Coffee Day, and in just a few years, it became the largest chain of coffee shops in India with 15,000 cafes. It was a huge achievement, and it paid off in a big way. Siddhartha's net worth was estimated at over $1.1 billion. But then something shocking happened. On July 27, 2019, the Cafe Coffee Day Board of Directors received a letter from Siddhartha explaining that he was deep in debt. He said in the letter that he'd done his best to fix it, but that it hadn't worked, and he couldn't take the pressure anymore. With business assets outweighing debts, he said he hoped that he'd be able to fix the problem. 2 days later, he was missing. He asked his driver to take him to a bridge where he wanted to walk, but when he didn't come back, the driver contacted the police. At the same time, a fisherman claimed to have seen a man jumping from the same bridge. The Coast Guard, Home Guard, Fire Services, Coastal Police, National Disaster Response Force, and local fishermen all began a 36-hour-long search to find the Coffee King. Sadly, his body was found on the riverbank 3 days later. We'll never know exactly what happened, but it's a sad end to the story for sure. Number 5. Nirav Modi. Nirav Modi made a name for himself as the head of Firestar Diamonds, a hugely successful jewelry design company. Thanks to his jewelry designs, his net worth came to an estimated $1.8 billion, which is interesting because that's nearly the same amount of cash he allegedly stole. Modi is in trouble with people all over the world. The Punjab National Bank, one of the largest moneylenders in India, was the first to file a complaint against him. They claimed he defrauded them out of nearly $2 billion. He's apparently still hiding out in an apartment in London, while authorities wait to find out if the UK is going to deport him. But they're not the only ones on his tail. He's also being sued by a California businessman who bought 2 custom-designed diamond engagement rings from Modi. He then took them home and somehow discovered that the diamonds were actually lab-created and shouldn't have been nearly as expensive as they were. Modi had charged him $4.2 million for them. You've got to wonder how long he's been getting away with that trick. Think that's a lot of money? Keep watching. The richest broke Indian businessmen are still coming. Number 4. Mehul Choksi. You might not have heard of Mehul Choksi, but he sure has a story to tell. He made his fortune as the owner of the Gitanjali Group, a huge jewelry retailer with over 4,000 stores in India. With that many locations, maybe it's not so surprising that he claimed he had a net worth of $2.5 billion. But he wasn't satisfied with that. According to authorities, Choksi and his nephew made a little deal with 2 employees of Punjab National Bank. They helped them set up a money laundering scheme through 41 of Choksi's jewelry stores, and it worked better than you'd expect. The bank and Indian police claim that Choksi's fraud earned him $1.8 billion at the bank's expense. There's also talk of lab-created diamonds being sold at the price of natural diamonds and a whole collection of other schemes. He then bought himself a passport, making himself a citizen of the beautiful island nation of Antigua and Barbuda. All that so he had somewhere nice to stay when he fled India. But Choksi had a very different version of what happened. He claimed that he never did anything wrong, and nobody at his company ever did anything wrong either. He basically said that he's been framed by the bank and Indian authorities. He also says that he didn't run away. The fact that he flew to the Caribbean with a brand new passport just a few days before the scam was unearthed was just a coincidence. But the story gets even weirder. He was nearly deported back to India when Dominica authorities arrested him for illegally being in their country. They caught him as he was about to flee to Cuba in a boat. Choksi said it wasn't his fault. His reason? He was kidnapped. According to him, Indian authorities had collaborated with British mercenaries and human traffickers to capture him. His story goes that he was befriended by a woman over 6 months, who tricked him into walking straight into the arms of this trap. They then took him to Dominica so he'd be deported back to India to face charges. Why didn't they just take him to India? We'll never know. The charges were dropped, and he now spends his time in Antigua, complaining about his health while resting in his super yacht. Poor guy. Number 3. Subrata Roy. Subrata Roy was, at the time, the most famous rich Indian on earth, often photographed among celebrities, sports stars, and world leaders. That's not so surprising. He was often the one throwing lavish parties for them, and he could afford to do that easily. He's rumored to be worth about $10 billion. At least, he used to be. His company, the Sahara Group, was involved in just about every money-making sector you can think of, from property to media, airlines, and sports. It was one of the biggest employers in India, with over 1 million employees. But that's not what it's known for these days. Today, it's famous for one of the biggest corporate scams in the history of India. Apparently, multiple investigations were launched against the company to try and discover the source of all the money Sahara was making. Most turned up no results. But there was one thing that turned Subrata Roy's life upside down. The company had been selling illegal bonds to investors. If that sounds bad, strap in. It gets way worse. These investigators were actually from very poor or rural Indian communities that normally don't have access to regular banking services. They had no idea they were investing in a totally illegal scheme. And the total amount stolen by Roy and the Sahara Group is staggering, adding up to a total of $3.5 billion. Roy was arrested and spent some time in prison, but he's been out on bail since 2016. Sadly, it looks like the company still hasn't repaid the money to the people they stole from. What do you think about Roy getting rich by stealing off the poorest people? Tell us in the comments, and keep watching. If you think Roy was rich, you're in for a surprise. Number 2. Anil Ambani. Anil Ambani and his brother Mukesh inherited their father's empire. But it wasn't easy. A family feud between the brothers meant their mom split the company in two. Anil was the one who inherited Reliance Communications, which he must have been pretty happy about for a while. After all, it made him the 6th richest man on earth, according to Forbes, with a net worth of $42 billion. With all that success, Anil and his directors started borrowing money to spread into new business territory. But sibling rivalries don't just disappear. In 2010, Anil's brother opened Jio, a rival telecommunications company that took off in a big way. So big, in fact, that it knocked Anil's business off way down the rankings. Soon, Anil's company was worth just $4 billion, while his brother's was worth almost $100 billion. Suddenly, Anil's company couldn't repay all his loans, and his suppliers were asking to be paid for products they'd sent him. Finally, when Anil was threatened with jail time, he testified that he couldn't pay. Why didn't he just pay it? Well, he's about $77 million in debt now. You try paying that off. It's not easy, even for a rich person. And finally, our number 1 spot goes to number 1, Ramalinga Raju. We always expect to know the names of the richest people in the world, but that's not always true. Some estimates put Ramalinga Raju's net worth at $71 billion, but that was before the scandal. He got richer than Mark Zuckerberg thanks to his IT firm, Satyam Computer Services, which he started back in the 90s in the middle of the IT boom in India. And it was all looking great, right up until 2009. Out of the blue, Raju wrote a letter to board members saying he was carrying a burden on his conscience and wanted to bring some facts to their attention. The rest of the letter outlined years of embezzlement and accounting fraud, totaling an incredible $1.5 billion. It ended with a resignation. This was a big deal, not just because of the huge amount of money, but also because of the large number of US-based Fortune 500 companies that use Satyam's services. When he was finally arrested in 2015, he pled guilty on all accounts, but he and several conspirators got out on bail. The company was bought by another company later, but I doubt Raju is bouncing back after that.